Sigma males stay single for years, sometimes decades. Not because they can't get women, but because modern women have become incompatible with what these men actually need. And the problem is getting worse, not better. Before the comments explode, let me be clear. This isn't about hating women or saying all women are terrible. This is about acknowledging a specific incompatibility between what Sigma males need in relationships and what modern dating culture has conditioned women to offer. I've been in this situation. Long stretches of being single, watching friends get into relationships, family asking when I'm going to settle down, and honestly wondering if there was something wrong with me. But here's what I figured out. There wasn't anything wrong with me. There was something fundamentally broken about modern dating dynamics that makes it almost impossible for high-quality men to find compatible partners. Today, I'm breaking down exactly why Sigma males stay single for years, and yes, why modern women bear a significant portion of the blame for this dynamic. Not because they're bad people, but because modern dating culture has taught them to behave in ways that are fundamentally incompatible with what these men need. Let's get into the uncomfortable truth. Reason 1. The validation addiction has gotten out of control. Let me start with the biggest problem. Modern women are addicted to validation in a way that makes genuine relationships almost impossible. Social media has turned every woman with a smartphone into a mini celebrity drowning in male attention. Instagram, TikTok, dating apps, every platform is engineered to deliver constant validation. Hundreds of likes, dozens of DMs, endless compliments from men they'll never meet. And this constant validation drip has completely warped their expectations and behavior. I've watched this happen in real time. Women who used to be reasonable and grounded become completely different people once they get access to unlimited social media validation. They develop inflated self-perception. They become impossible to please because no single man can compete with the dopamine hit of hundreds of men validating them daily. Here's what this looks like in practice. You're on a date with a woman, having a great conversation. Then her phone buzzes. She glances at it. You can see her attention split between you, the actual human in front of her, and the digital validation waiting in her pocket. She's physically present, but mentally somewhere else, calculating her next post, thinking about the last one's engagement, checking who viewed her story. You're competing not with other men, but with an algorithmic validation machine that's been designed to be more addictive than cocaine. For Sigma males, this is intolerable. We're not interested in competing for attention with Instagram. We're not interested in relationships where we're just another source of validation in an endless stream. We want genuine connection, undivided presence, authentic interest. But modern women have been conditioned to need constant validation from multiple sources. One man's attention isn't enough. One man's commitment isn't enough. They need the backup attention, the options, the constant confirmation that they're still desirable. This makes them fundamentally incompatible with Sigma males who are looking for singular, focused, genuine connection. And before you say, not all women, I know. But we're talking about trends, not exceptions. And the trend is overwhelmingly toward validation addiction enabled by technology and normalized by culture. The irony? This validation addiction leaves women less satisfied, not more. Studies show women are less happy now than they were before social media, despite having more validation than ever. But they can't stop chasing it. And Sigma males? We're watching this train wreck from the sidelines, deciding that being single is better than competing with an algorithm for a woman's attention. Reason 2. Traditional roles rejected, but traditional expectations maintained. Here's where it gets really frustrating. Modern women have largely rejected traditional female roles, while maintaining all their traditional expectations of men. Let me break this down clearly. Women fought for and won equality in education, careers, finances, and autonomy. That's fine. That's their right. I'm not arguing against any of that. But here's the problem. They rejected traditional female contributions to relationships, domestic skills, feminine energy, submission to masculine leadership, while still expecting men to fulfill traditional male roles: provider, protector, leader, emotional rock. I'll give you a concrete example. I was dating a woman who was proud of her career, her independence, her ability to not need a man. Great. Admirable, honestly. But when we'd go out, she still expected me to pay. When we'd plan dates, she still expected me to lead. When problems came up, she still expected me to fix them. When she was emotional, she still expected me to provide stability. In other words, she wanted 1950s male behavior with 2020s female autonomy. She wanted all the benefits of traditional masculinity without offering any of the benefits of traditional femininity. This is the modern dating contract in a nutshell. Men are expected to be everything traditional masculinity demanded, while women offer nothing that traditional femininity provided. For Sigma males, this is a non-starter. We're happy to be strong, capable, protective men. But we're not doing it in a vacuum. We're not providing masculine strength, so a woman can have complete autonomy. That's not partnership, that's servitude. If you want traditional male behavior, you need to bring traditional female behavior. If you want modern egalitarian partnership, then we split everything 50-50, including emotional labor, financial burden, and decision-making. But you don't get to cherry-pick the best of both worlds while men get the worst of both. That's not how partnerships work. Modern women want to be treated like queens while behaving like equals. And Sigma males are saying, pick one. You can't have both. The result? We stay single. Because we're not interested in asymmetric relationships where we provide everything and receive nothing in return. Reason 3. The entitlement without merit epidemic. This one is going to make people angry, but it needs to be said. Modern women have developed massive entitlement to high-value men without developing the qualities that attract high-value men. Let me explain what I mean. There's this growing phenomenon of average women believing they deserve top-tier men. And when I say average, I mean average on every metric that matters for long-term relationships. Average looks, average intelligence, average personality, average career, average contribution to relationships. But because they've been told their entire lives that they're queens and deserve the best and know their worth, they believe they're entitled to men who are exceptional on every metric. I see this constantly. Women who bring nothing exceptional to the table. Not particularly attractive, not particularly interesting, not particularly accomplished, not particularly kind. But they have these lists of requirements for men that would exclude 99% of the male population. He needs to be over 6 feet tall. He needs to make 6 figures. He needs to be ambitious, but also available. He needs to be confident, but also vulnerable. He needs to be a leader, but also listen to her. The list goes on. And here's the brutal question nobody asks. What do you bring to the table that justifies these requirements? For Sigma males, this entitlement without merit is exhausting. We've worked on ourselves. We've built careers. We've developed skills. We've cultivated discipline, character, and capability. We've earned our value. And then we're supposed to be grateful that some average woman with inflated self-perception deems us worthy of her attention, while she brings nothing to the relationship except demands and expectations? Pass. The truth that nobody wants to say If you want a high-value man, you need to be a high-value woman. And high value isn't determined by your gender. It's determined by what you actually bring to someone's life. Modern women have confused being desired by low-quality men, which is easy. Any woman with a pulse gets attention from desperate men, with actually being high quality themselves. They think male thirst equals female value. But Sigma males aren't thirsty. We don't confuse your ability to get attention from desperate men with your actual worth as a partner. We evaluate you on the same metrics we evaluate ourselves: character, capability, contribution, compatibility. And when we do that evaluation, most modern women come up short. Not because of some impossible standard, but because they've been told they're perfect exactly as they are and don't need to develop themselves. So we stay single, because being alone is better than being with someone who thinks they're doing you a favor by accepting you. Reason 4. Emotional instability has become normalized. Here's something that's gotten significantly worse. Women's emotional instability has gone from being a red flag to being normalized, even celebrated. Modern culture tells women that being emotionally expressive and in touch with their feelings is healthy. And that's fine when it means appropriate emotional expression. But that's not what's happening. What's actually happening is that women are having full emotional breakdowns over minor inconveniences. And we're supposed to pretend this is normal and healthy. Crying because you couldn't get a restaurant reservation, having a meltdown because someone disagreed with you on social media, creating drama because you misinterpreted a text message. This isn't emotional health. This is emotional toddler behavior. And it's being normalized and even encouraged. I dated a woman who would have emotional crises multiple times per week. Every minor setback was a catastrophe. Every perceived slight was a betrayal. Every decision required my emotional management and reassurance. Dating her was like being an unpaid therapist for someone who refused to do any work on themselves. And when I suggested she might benefit from actually talking to a professional, I was told I was being unsupportive and invalidating her feelings. For Sigma males, this is exhausting. We're not interested in managing someone else's unregulated emotions. We're not interested in relationships that feel like emotional babysitting. We're not interested in walking on eggshells because your nervous system treats minor inconveniences like legitimate threats. Emotional stability used to be a baseline expectation for adult relationships. Now it's apparently too much to ask for. And the worst part? Women have been told that if you can't handle their emotional instability, you're emotionally unavailable or afraid of real intimacy. No, we're just not interested in playing therapist for someone who won't do their own emotional work. Real emotional intimacy happens between two emotionally stable people who can be vulnerable without being volatile. What modern women are offering isn't intimacy. It's emotional chaos that they expect men to manage for them. So, Sigma males stay single because peace is more valuable than any relationship with someone who treats emotional regulation as optional. Reason 5. The lack of genuine femininity. Let me be controversial. Modern women have largely abandoned femininity, and then they wonder why masculine men aren't interested in them. And I'm not talking about wearing dresses or having long hair. I'm talking about the energy, the approach, the way of being that makes women attractive to masculine men. Traditional femininity, receptiveness, nurturing energy, gentleness, cooperation, supportiveness, has been deemed weak and outdated. Modern women have been taught to be aggressive, independent, combative, and self-sufficient. Again, that's fine if that's what they want. But then they complain that masculine men aren't pursuing them. Here's the reality. Masculine men are attracted to feminine energy. Not because we want to dominate or control, but because masculine and feminine energies complement each other. They create balance and attraction. But modern women show up with masculine energy, aggressive, competitive, combative, and then wonder why masculine men aren't interested. We're not interested because we already have masculine energy. We don't need more of it. We're looking for balance, not competition. I've been on dates with women who spent the entire time trying to one-up me, challenge me, prove they don't need me. And I'm sitting there thinking, why are you even here? You clearly don't want a relationship. You want a competitor. The irony is that women complain about men being intimidated by strong women. But we're not intimidated. We're just not interested in women who approach relationships like combat. Strength and femininity aren't opposites. You can be strong, capable, and successful while still maintaining feminine energy. But modern women have been convinced that femininity equals weakness, so they've abandoned it entirely. And masculine men, particularly Sigma males, who are highly masculine internally, are responding by staying single. Because we're not interested in dating masculine women. We already are masculine. We're looking for feminine energy to complement ours. If you want to be masculine, be masculine. But don't expect masculine men to pursue you. You're not offering what we're looking for. Reason 6. The inability to submit to anything. This is probably the most triggering point, but it needs to be said. Modern women cannot submit to anything. Not to a relationship, not to a man's leadership, not even to their own commitments. And I'm not talking about archaic submission, where women have no voice or autonomy. I'm talking about the ability to trust someone else's judgment, to let someone else lead when they're better equipped to do so, to commit to something and honor that commitment even when it's uncomfortable. Modern women have been taught that any form of submission is oppression, that deferring to someone else's expertise is weakness, that following someone else's lead is giving up your power. The result? Women who cannot function in any relationship structure that involves hierarchy, leadership, or trust. I'll give you an example. I was in a relationship where I had significantly more expertise in financial planning. I'd spent years studying investing, building wealth, understanding markets. My partner knew this, but she couldn't accept my leadership in this area because submitting to my greater knowledge felt like admitting weakness. So we'd argue about financial decisions where I knew I was right, and she knew I was right, but she couldn't let me lead, because that would mean submitting. And her inability to submit meant we couldn't make progress on building shared wealth. This plays out in every area. Decision-making becomes endless negotiation. Leading becomes impossible because she needs to challenge every decision to prove she's not submitting. Building something together becomes impossible because she can't trust you to lead in your areas of strength. For Sigma males, this is a deal breaker. We're not interested in relationships that are constant power struggles. We're not interested in women who are so terrified of submission that they can't function in any structure that involves leadership and followership. Healthy relationships have natural hierarchies. Sometimes he leads, sometimes she leads. But it's based on competence, not ego. Whoever is more qualified for a specific decision or situation takes the lead, and the other person trusts and follows. But modern women can't do this. They interpret any following as losing. So relationships become battlegrounds instead of partnerships. And Sigma males, we stay single. Because being alone is better than being in a constant power struggle with someone who's too insecure to ever let you lead. Reason 7. The delusion about their relationship value. Here's the final brutal truth. Most modern women have completely delusional ideas about their value in the relationship marketplace. They think that because they can get attention from men on dating apps or social media, they're high value. They think that because desperate men approach them at bars, they're desirable. They think that because they have a degree and a career, they're catches. But here's what they don't understand. Male attention is cheap. Getting attention from low-quality men is easy. Having a career and degree is baseline, not exceptional. High-value men don't measure women's worth by how many low-value men chase them. We measure it by actual compatibility, character, and contribution to our lives. I've met countless women who genuinely believe they're out of most men's league because they're reasonably attractive and have a decent job. Meanwhile, they bring nothing to relationships except demands and expectations. No domestic skills, no nurturing energy, no pleasant personality, no genuine interest in their partner's life. Nothing that would actually make a man's life better. But they've been told they're queens who deserve the best, so they hold out for perfect men while rejecting good men who don't meet their delusional standards. And then they hit their 30s or 40s and suddenly panic because the high-value men they thought they deserved aren't available. Because those men married the women who actually brought value to their lives, not the women who just had inflated opinions of themselves. For Sigma males, this delusion is exhausting to encounter. We're not interested in convincing women of our value or competing for their attention when they're operating from completely unrealistic self-assessment. We'd rather stay single than deal with women who think they're doing us a favor by dating us while bringing nothing substantial to the relationship. Notice what all these issues have in common? They all stem from modern culture, teaching women that they're perfect as they are, that they deserve everything without earning it, that any expectations placed on them are oppression. This culture has created women who are addicted to validation but never satisfied, expecting traditional male behavior while rejecting traditional female behavior, entitled without merit, emotionally unstable and proud of it, stripped of femininity but expecting masculine attention, unable to submit to anything or anyone, delusional about their actual relationship value. And then culture asks, why won't high-value men commit? We won't commit because modern women aren't offering anything worth committing to. It's that simple. This isn't about hating women. This is about acknowledging that modern dating dynamics have made women largely incompatible with what high-quality men need in partners. And instead of addressing these issues, culture doubles down, telling women they're perfect, that men are the problem, that they should hold out for even more. Meanwhile, Sigma males are checking out entirely. We're building our lives, pursuing our goals, and being perfectly content alone, rather than dealing with relationships that actively make our lives worse. Here's what needs to be said but almost never is. If you're a woman who can't keep a high-value man, the problem probably isn't the men. It's you. I know that's harsh. I know it goes against everything modern culture tells you. But it's true. If high-quality men consistently don't commit to you, it's because you're not offering what high-quality men need. And getting defensive about that, or blaming men, doesn't change the reality. High-quality men have options. We have standards. We have lives that work. We're not desperate for relationships. If you want to attract and keep us, you need to actually bring value, not theoretical value, not the value culture told you that you have. Actual, tangible, real value that makes our lives measurably better. That means emotional stability, genuine femininity, reasonable expectations, ability to submit and trust, real contribution to the relationship, pleasant personality and energy, realistic self-assessment. Without these things, we're not interested. We'd rather be single. And calling us emotionally unavailable or commitment phobic doesn't change that. we commit just fine to women who are actually worth committing to. So what are we doing while staying single for years? We're building businesses, developing skills, pursuing passions, creating wealth, maintaining health, deepening friendships, living full, satisfying lives. We're not sitting around lonely and desperate for female attention. We're genuinely content. And that contentment is what makes us most attractive and most threatening, because we're not available to fix broken women, or validate insecure women, or tolerate toxic women. We're available for genuine partnership with women who have done their own work and bring real value to our lives. But those women are rare. So we wait. Or we don't wait. We just live our lives. And if the right woman shows up, great. If not, also great. This isn't MG Tao or women hating. This is just men with options exercising those options rationally. Look, I know this video is going to make a lot of people angry. Women will call me a misogynist. White knights will call me bitter. That's fine. But everything I've said is observable reality. Modern women are largely incompatible with what Sigma males need in relationships. And rather than changing, modern women double down and blame men. Meanwhile, we stay single. Happily. Because being alone beats being with someone who makes your life worse. If you're a woman watching this and you're offended, ask yourself, do these criticisms apply to you? If not, great. You're the exception. But if they do, maybe getting defensive isn't the answer. Maybe actually addressing these issues is. And if you're a Sigma male watching this, know that you're not alone. Your standards aren't too high. Your expectations aren't unreasonable. You're not broken or emotionally unavailable. You're just refusing to settle for women who aren't compatible with the life you've built. Stay the course. If you've stayed single for years because modern women aren't compatible with what you need, drop a comment with the word standards and tell me which reason resonated most. And if this video articulated something you felt but couldn't say, hit that like button and subscribe. I'm going to keep speaking uncomfortable truths for men who are tired of being gaslit about dating reality. Remember, being single is better than being with the wrong person. Don't let anyone shame you for having standards. Until next time, stay Sigma.